Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see some friendly faces here. I'm Vic Baker, as I introduced myself before. I'm campaign manager for the Fred for Us team, Fred Costello for Congress. Also the host, as I said, of Trump Talk Live. We're here to introduce Fred. Fred is, but before I do that, I want to say something. Marianne Pastilli, her brother-in-law's name is Walter Bach. He passed away in his sleep yesterday morning or overnight. And her sister is Carl Ann Bach. And we want to just extend our condolences and prayers. Marianne is our political director for Fred Costello. And of course, they're going through rough times right now. So please keep them in your prayers. Also, I'd like you to ask you to keep Nathan Johnson, our deputy campaign manager, in your prayers. His father, Tom, who would turn 85 this Saturday. This is going to give you chills, I think. He suffered a stroke this week. And it's the real words. He's been with us on the campaign trail. He's been out with us at events. He's been very active. But Tom's had some health issues, and he started to get the numbness and the symptoms. And as they were putting him into the hospital, he was able to mouth the words to his wife of 61 years. God is calling me home. I choked up when I heard those words. Fred went to see him after the Republican Executive Committee meeting last night. He's got a bleed on the brain, so he's in and out of consciousness, but Tom opened his eyes, smiled, reached out to Fred as he walked in the room. Tom is able to recognize what's going on, his family's with him, but we know his days are very few. And we don't have a chance to make those decisions ourselves. So it's important for us to value the people that we work with, that we live with, that we love as our family. Our Team Fred, we have about 26, growing all the time, 28 people formerly on Team Fred. These two people are among them. We also have on our team a number of the Trumpettes. I want to say that, the Trumpettes are the unsung heroes, and I'll say heroes and heroines, of the Trump campaign in Volusia County last year. We turned Volusia red thanks to all the hard work, the door knocking. Particularly unsung heroines, and I want them to stand up, are Sandy Hodgson and Afene Casey. Sandy and Afene have been tireless working with Marianne, and I think we need to say thank you and understand that we don't change this country, as Fred says, unless we get off the couch and do something about it. Right. Stop staying at home and shouting at CNN. It's not going to do you any good. For one thing, you shouldn't be watching them anyway. But without further ado, I want to introduce the man who's going to change things for us, take the seat back for us, and stand up for us in the United States Congress, our own Fred Costello.
Thank you. And I'm sitting over there getting tears in my eyes when Vic's talking because, we've all lost somebody we love. And I hope you've all heard me. And if you haven't yet heard me, I want you to always remember this. Family first. We got to love our family every day. Give hugs and kisses before you leave because you never know when it's going to be. Our country was founded on the Judeo-Christian values that include family, that include us taking care of each other, not government taking care of each other.
That's right.
I don't want to get into my speech yet, but the bottom line is we love family, and I love the fact that you guys care enough about what's going on in our country to be here today. Let me tell you about my last weekend. My last weekend was so cool. Friday, January 5th, Congressman Ron DeSantis announced that he's running for governor. Woohoo! And what's especially cool about that is that our kickoff was Saturday, January 6th, the day after he announced. So I didn't have to answer any questions about, well, what are you going to do if Ron doesn't run for governor? Because Ron has announced he's running for governor. And with the tweet that he got from President Donald Trump, Ron is now #1 in the polls. So we had a fantastic we had a fantastic campaign kickoff. We did it what some might call old school. I have lived in Ormond Beach. Many of you know I was the mayor there for 8 years. One of the things I did is I said, we in Ormond Beach demand excellence. We demand quality. We demand that the amenities that we choose to pay for are held to a standard of excellence, and we want to have renewal and replacement funding to take care of them. We're not going to do anything unless we can do it first class. We'll wait until we can afford to do it. Well, Rockefeller Park is one of the parks that I worked real hard to renovate, and that's where we hosted our campaign kickoff. As a member of Vietnam Veterans of America 1048, we had the Vietnam Veterans of America be our color guard, so they brought in the flags. As a past board member of the Volusia Flagler Boys and Girls Clubs, we had student members of the Boys and Girls Clubs come and sing our national anthem. Mike Cantu, some of you may know, who is a candidate for District 26 House of Representatives, sang the song that he wrote, Stand for Liberty. So he sang that song. At the closing, Ormond Strong with Colonel Skip Keating led us in God Bless America at the end. In between, we were blessed to have our county chair, Ed Kelly, speak as an endorsement on my behalf. County Sheriff Mike Chitwood, who has endorsed me, was not able to be there. He was out chasing what he likes to refer to as, anybody know the word? Scumbags. And so we were grateful for his support. Casey Ryan, just someone who's just young, beautiful, vivacious, enthusiastic, and everybody loves Casey to know her. She spoke about Fred because I know her family knows me. Jim Purdy, our public defender, elected for all of District 7, I believe it is for him, spoke. But the surprise speakers were John Stemberger from the Florida Family Policy Council, bringing an award, Champion of the Family. And that is especially appreciated by me. I didn't know John was coming. We didn't ask him to come. We're grateful he did come. He told me about 10 o'clock the night before, can you find 3 minutes? I said, I think we can find 3 minutes for you. And Colonel Mike McAllister brought an endorsement of my campaign for Citizens for Trump. So what a blessing to have the endorsement brought by the national spokesman for Citizens for Trump. Colonel McAllister followed us to all of our events throughout the entire day. We went from Ormond to our Flagler kickoff at Heroes Veterans Park in Palm Coast, to our St. John's kickoff at State Park, Faber Dyke State Park in St. John's. Then we came back for our Volusia kickoff was in Deltona. It was not in Ormond. Ormond was our overall kickoff, but I want West Volusia to know that we're not ignoring them. So our Volusia kickoff was in Deltona at Veterans Memorial Park and Museum, and then we went to Lake County for our kickoff there, which was at the Railroad Museum. How many of you have ever heard of Representative Larry Metz? Not too many. How many of you heard of the bill about not having any sanctuary cities in Florida? Rep. Metz is the sponsor of that bill. I was the co-sponsor of that bill when I was in the House. Larry Metz was there. Yes. Larry Metz was there and endorsed me. That was wonderful. How many of you have ever heard of Senator Dennis Baxley? See, you guys don't know them over here. No reason you should. Dennis Baxley is a past president of the Christian Coalition of Florida. He's a rep that was a rep, now a senator, that sponsored numerous gun bills and bills that are about liberty. So Senator Baxley was there and also spoke on my behalf. We feel like we've got a lot of great leaders that are supporting me. And why? Because,
don't forget David Santiago.
Thank you. David Santiago and John Masarzik. I was trying to get to people they didn't know. Mayor Masarzik hosted. He is the one that made the Veterans Museum happen in Deltona. 100%. It was Mayor Masarzik's idea to get that done. He welcomed us, and then State Rep Dave Santiago, who was running for Congress before, has endorsed us and was there to speak. And Councilman Fred Lowry could not be there, but he sent a text. He was where he should be, thinking about family. They hosted some homeless families in Pastor Lowry's church, and he felt he should be with his people cleaning up and getting it ready for church the next day. That's a leader. Be with your people while they're doing what needs to be done. So he sent me a text that I could read. And again, thank you, because I was just focused on people that you might not know. You know, the reality is we have an opportunity to elect one of us. And in this case, it happens to be me, but I'm one of us. I'm Fred. Look at the logo. It's sitting on your desk. It doesn't highlight my last name. It highlights Fred because I'm no different than you guys. I've just gotten off the couch a little bit sooner than some of you did. The unique part about Saturday, how many of you, other than Vic, have ever heard of American Bridge 21st Century? I don't feel so bad because I didn't know much about them before either. They're founded by David Brock, right-wing hitman, funded by Democrats.
He turned left-wing hitman. He's a Hillary Clinton.
Well, he's on the left, but he hits the right. So he.
That's right. He hits the right. That's right.
They're funded by Democrats, labor unions, and primarily by George Soros. And they followed us everywhere we went. So I have now been tracked. We call it stalked, they call it tracked. They are a tracker group. They follow Republican candidates that they believe they will meet in the general election. So we received a compliment because we were tracked by the George Soros-funded American Bridge 21st Century. So it was a very unique day, and we told them you wasted your money because we posted everything on Facebook. I'm as transparent as they get. I have nothing to hide. Let me try and get to what I want to convey to the few of you that don't know much about me, and those of you that know a little bit more. Sorry to be redundant. People always ask, who am I? Well, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. We've got 4 grandkids living with us of our 6. My wife's a busy girl, I'm a busy guy, but I'm also a veteran. You'll hear some of the other candidates focus on their military service, and I thank them for that. Always please applaud them for that. The reason they don't often talk about me as being a veteran is not because I'm not proud of it. I'm extremely proud of it, but it's because I'm a doctor, I'm a dentist, I was a mayor, I was a state representative, so when they use all those titles, they try and leave something off so it doesn't look like they're playing favoritism. So I have been involved in my community, president of the Dental Association. I cared enough to get involved in the things that I wanted to make a difference in, but the bottom line is I'm one of us. I'm not somebody that wants to pay a bunch of money to come in and buy a seat in Congress. If I wanted to be somebody, I'd have stayed in Tallahassee. But I want to do something, and it's not broken locally, not perfect. It's not broken in Florida, not perfect, but it's broken in Washington. And thank you, Lord, for the course correction that President Trump has brought Washington. Let's clap for it. So that's who I am. Why am I running? People want to know why I'm running. I want to represent us. We in Congressional District 6 have always been routinely for many, many years, been represented by people that are outside that want to represent us, and it takes us a while to train them and teach them what our issues are and what we need. I, as mayor of Ormond Beach for 8 years and state rep, I understand how the local government needs to get the state out of the way. I understand why the federal government needs to get out of the way of the state government. So that's the beauty of sending someone up there that has that background. I believe very simply that the least government closest to the people is the best government. How can anybody argue with that? But they always do. So we want to get the heart and soul of our country back to the values upon which we were founded. We want to get back to the Judeo-Christian values that our country was founded upon. President Trump calls that "Make America Great Again." I wish I had come up with that phrase, because that's what I've wanted to do, was to make America great again. I just wasn't good at messaging. So have I bought into President Trump's Make America Great Again? 100%. I was the first candidate last year in the election, in the congressional candidates, to endorse President Trump because I love what he's trying to do. I've talked about getting rid of pensions for all elected officials. I've talked about no lobbying by anybody that's ever been an elected official. I've talked about term limits. I was talking about draining the swamp before I knew the term. So I was on the Trump train before I knew there was a Trump train. And I think that's partially why Colonel McAllister came and brought the endorsement for me from Citizens for Trump. Why me? And who I am, why I'm running, but a lot of people say, why you? When I was 6 months old, my picture was taken on New Smyrna Beach. It's the first picture my family has of me. My parents met at Rollins College, and New Smyrna Beach is Rollins Beach. It used to be what they called it. So this is my area. I know us. I stand for us. I want you to help me stand for us. I'm qualified to lead. I'm prepared to serve. I'm experienced. And I have a record of standing for us. Let me tell you a couple quick things. Out of the 16 communities in Volusia County, when I left Ormond Beach as mayor after 8 years, we had the second lowest tax rate in Volusia County. I'm proud of that. When I was in the Florida House, I told the majority leader no when he asked me to run a bill. Now, think about this. The majority leader asks a rookie freshman representative to run a bill for the majority office, and this rookie says no. Want to know what the bill was? I'm going to tell you anyway. They wanted me to run a bill that would expand eminent domain into the residential historic neighborhoods in St. Augustine, because they thought the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind should have the same rights to eminent domain that the University of Florida does. I said, absolutely they should. And whether it's the University of Florida or the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, nobody should have the right of eminent domain unless a locally elected school board, locally elected city commission, or locally elected county council has the authority to grant that eminent domain, not an appointed board from all over the state that has no local accountability.
Thank you, Fred.
So we got that, thank you. We got that residential component taken out of the bill, and a 10-year delay before they could use it on the commercial properties surrounding the School for the Deaf and Blind. So I want you to know that I stand for us against the left, against the right, against their team, my team. If it's wrong, I'm going to stand against it. I'm going to stand for what's right, no matter who brings it. The other thing is, some of the local leaders here understand the rollback rate. Some of you may not. The bottom line is, I was the only Republican in the Florida House of Representatives and the Senate at that time. I wasn't in the Senate, but nobody else in the Senate was standing up either. I was the only one in the House of Representatives that stood up against a proposed $428 million tax increase. How many of you have seen Congressman Matt Gaetz on Fox News? Several of you. Matt Gaetz was chairman of Finance and Tax at the time, and during the budget debate, he turned around and he says, and we can thank Representative Costello for saving this $428 million. The next year was about $460, and if Speaker Corcoran continues the quest that I turned him onto, which is to make sure the state does not raise our local property tax, it'll be over $1 billion that I saved Florida residents this year because I stood up against my own kind. Hopefully most of you have one of these things. And if you just look at the right side, I want you to know I'm proud that the American Conservative Union called me a conservative all-star and a defender of liberty. Americans for Prosperity called me a champion of economic freedom. Florida Chamber, Florida Right to Life, Florida Family Action, and the National Rifle Association all graded me an A. That's based on votes. In this race, I would imagine that most of the Republican candidates will have an AQ, which is A based on your questionnaire, rating from the National Rifle Association. I will be the only A because I'm the only one that has a voting record. I voted for open carry. I voted for concealed carry on campus. I believe the Second Amendment is about liberty. It's not about guns. It's about liberty. But they will try and paint me as this or that or whatever, but you know better. You know, I mentioned President Trump earlier. Think about what he has done in the first year. North Korea, I mean, standing up to him, and I'm going to read a quote here in just a minute. Jerusalem, I've been there twice, I want to go back again, the capital of Israel. Come on. How many presidents have said Jerusalem is the capital of Israel but didn't have the guts to pronounce it so? 3, 4, or more. Think about NATO telling them you got to pay your fair share to our allies. Think about the UN. What is it? 285 million. He says we're pulling out. Think about Pakistan and you know, all these different areas that he's telling the Palestinians, if you don't work for freedom, Pakistan, if you don't quit harboring terror, we're going to stop giving you money. And the economy, the word I use for the economy is it's roaring. 25,000 for the Dow, up 40%, $7 trillion of new wealth, lowest unemployment in 17 years, highest consumer confidence index in 18 years, and people are saying he hadn't done anything. Give me a break. I told you I was going to read you a comment. Let me read. I don't do this often, but I just thought this was really cool, and I hope I can find it quickly enough here. There it is. When the president suggested that he could envision a limited nuclear war with our communist adversary, critics were horrified and appalled, while the regime called his remarks dangerous madness. The president in question was
Ronald Reagan.
not Donald Trump, but Ronald Reagan. And that's what's happening now. Peace through strength.
Right.
We are letting the world know you are no longer going to push us around. We do not want war. We do not